I thought I would hop on here today a little bit earlier than usual, thinking I might reach a different audience. And I'm just going to demonstrate sort of a simple big leaf maple from my neck of the woods in the Pacific Northwest. And the first thing I do when I decide I'm going to do a new design is if I need a reference, I find it. I either go out in nature and find it, or in this case, I went to a website. And this is a big leaf maple from the Native Plants, PNW, which is a website. And it was originally hosted, I think it still is, by a biologist who worked for the state, I think, for a time, and now I think is in sort of a retired or different kind of a job. Like she's working at a nursery now. Anyway, you can read all that in her bio. But anyway, she had that photograph on her website, and I thought it was a good one. I used to have a big leaf maple tree next to a house that I lived in, not far from here, and the leaves were like a hand would be 1/3 the size. A human hand would be 1/3 the size of this leaf. They are huge, and so I went ahead and just have this photo here for reference because I did a pre-sketch to show you kind of what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to demonstrate two buttons on this Adobe Fresco program this morning. One is the Symmetry button, which is how I got this exactly perfect symmetrical leaf. And the other button I'm going to show you is well, I'll show you a lot of different ones, but I'm focusing on creating a mask using the lasso tool. And so let's get going. I can turn off this layer of the big leaf maple reference because I have already drawn the leaf based on that photograph and real life. I've seen a lot of these leaves. I just needed to get the points right. They're actually quite a complicated leaf. So the first thing we're going to demonstrate is the Symmetry button, which I'm going to go over here, make sure you can see the edge of my screen. Sorry. I think I will zoom in. Oh, okay, I'm going to have to go here. So here there's a grid on the side, and you click the grid, and there's the word Symmetry. Usually it looks like that. And you open Symmetry menu, and that's off, that's on. And then you get to choose these different possible symmetrical setups. I used this one down here, right here, this rotational one, a week ago, and I did a Queen of Hearts playing card. This one I'm using today to do this simple maple, and I'm going to continue to do that. And what I am going to do next, I'll close this, even we've got the Symmetry on. I'm just going to create a border that eventually I will fill in, and it's going to be pretty whimsical. So let me go to a new layer here, and I'm just going to choose a vector brush to keep things simple. That's a pretty big fat line, so let me go back there and smooth that down. I'm also going to change the color to we're going to go over here to just sort of a brown color. That's going to be my base. So let's test the line now. Okay, that's a pretty good line. So I'm really winging it here. I have not planned what my border will look like. It's going to be very whimsical. And I like to close these up because sometimes I go back in and I paint inside of these shapes. So closing them up is helpful. This is a very, 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 very whimsical border. Okay, just add a little something here at the bottom. Okay, I'm not sure I really like that border. I'm going to lighten it a little bit just so it's not the focus of our drawing today. Just fade it into the background a little bit, and I may work on that some more later. But that kind of demonstrates the symmetry button. As you could see, I was drawing only on one side, and of course it translated to both sides because I've got this, the way that often I can read my tools on here is that symmetry line is on that blue line down the center of my drawing. Okay, so the next thing, so that border is on its own layer. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a layer, and this is going to be I think what I'm going to do is use a vector line, and I'm going to use that same color, and I'm going to re-outline this leaf so I have a nice border within that I can paint inside. So we're sticking with the symmetry. And it's okay that it's not exact to what I originally, this is really me free-forming it a bit. I'm going to pick up my pen because what happens is my hand crosses over and you can't see what I'm drawing. Now when I picked up my pen, I want to make sure that I connect these two lines because this actually becomes a border that I can paint inside of. And if I have any gaps where I've picked up my pencil, the paint will spill out and go all over the entire sheet. Make sure that one is connected. Okay, so I have my original pencil sketch here. I'm going to turn that one off, go back up here, and I think I'm going to, so a vector brush is different than a wet brush. A wet brush, we've got 3 different brushes up here, and I'm using the vector, and it's a very clean line. It's also very translatable from very tiny to very large, and it doesn't pixelate when you zoom in on it. But vector work tends to be very flat. Like if I were to fill this in with a vector color, I basically have a choice of doing that, and then if I want to go on top of it, I can draw with a vector line, but it kind of looks like, it's not even as good as a magic marker, honestly. It's just very, very flat. So I'm going to undo what I just did because I don't want a flat leaf. I want to do a painterly leaf. And so I want all of my paint to be contained inside of this leaf. And I'm going to try a couple different things and I'll zoom in here so you can really see it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go now, I'm going to leave, I'm going to have to change this, I think, because when I leave the vector world and I go up to a wet brush, and let's say I'm going to use a watercolor brush. Let's make sure I've got watercolor. I'm going to use a watercolor wash soft. And I'm just going to go with a light green for the moment. So important thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to stay inside the lines. Now, I think what's going to happen is when I touch my brush here, you see I'm on this vector layer right now. But when I touch my brush to it, it tried to go back down here to this layer because this is a, I've forgotten it's a raster layer, but there's another term they use for it. So what I'm going to do here, I want to actually paint on this layer, and it doesn't want to let me. So I have to convert it. So convert to pixel layer. So it won't be quite as translatable to large and small, but that's okay. Now when I use this paintbrush, I stayed on that layer. Fabulous. So now it's going to read the lines. When it threw me down to this layer, it wasn't going to read those lines and stay inside. I've clicked the stay inside the lines button right here, this little right there. Oh, now I just clicked it by accident and it's going, see the dash is going outside. Oh, you can't see it. Let me move this up where you can see it. Okay, so I've got my paintbrush, a wet brush, and then this right here is going outside the lines. And when I tap it, it's going to show that slash going inside the circle. It's now going to go inside the lines. Sorry, I was talking about brushes and you couldn't see I might have to adjust my camera so you can see everything. There we go. I think that's better. So when I'm pointing to things on the side, and then I tend to move my iPad, so I apologize if I get a little bit lost on this. Thanks for coming by. It looks like we have, I want to just check here. Oh, we've got a lot of people in here today. Lee first, hello. Nora Amro, thank you. That's so cool. Bama, hey, nice to see you. So thank you all for coming by. I will definitely get back to my painting right now, and every once in a while I stand up from my, and I look at where I can get up above my phone and look at the comments. All right, so let's start painting. We're inside the lines, we've got a green. So one of the things with that big leaf maple that was by my house was that it had, like, sometimes when the leaves would fall this time of year, I was absolutely amazed at how many colors would actually be in one leaf. And I'm not kidding you when I say, so I think I see something happening here I don't want to happen. So I'm gonna go around this whole leaf with the yellow. What's happening is the colors are not blending because I have that stay inside the lines button pushed. And they'll blend if I go inside, but they're not bleeding out. And I want them to bleed out. So we're gonna do a quick change here in a minute. The program is actually pretty nice. It tends to, well, it's giving me a little trouble this morning though. I just want to get this border on. The reason I'm doing this is that it tends, see how it's nicely stayed inside because I had this line, this tool I showed you. Now I'm going to unclick that. And now what it's going to do is it's going to kind of read where the edges are, but it could spill out. But that's okay because I want it to blend inside more. It wasn't blending enough when I had this had that button pushed. I'm going to stop talking now and just paint. I sure talk a lot sometimes. Oh, here's another thing I want to do. I don't think I want to paint this symmetrical. I'm going to turn off the symmetry button. Okay, so sorry. Let's go back and restart painting here. That's okay, we'll go to that point. All right, now I'm gonna start painting. I'm actually gonna go in here and erase some of this because even though I want the shape to be symmetrical, I don't necessarily want my painting to be symmetrical. So I'll go back to my wet brush and we're gonna go with an orange, green, yellow over here. So now what you're going to see when I go up close here, it's actually taking that vector line that I had and it's turning it into a watercolor line. So we're going to go a little deeper with the orange down here. We can always clean up with an eraser, which is different than painting on paper, of course, with real paper and real paint. This is just another tool, and I think that it's a pretty awesome tool, and I'm actually going to go a little wild with the colors here. I'm going to go a little bit bigger with that. I'm going to put a little bit more of a salmony pink in here instead of that heavy red, and then we'll mix it in with the green. Make it a little smaller. What happens when I go in here? It's going to get a little muddy, but you know, leaves are kind of muddy. I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and I really encourage you to subscribe so we can stay connected. If I get a lot of responses on this morning session, I've never done a morning session before. I can do them before I head off to my daytime job. I'm doing this over coffee in the Pacific Northwest, so you might be in a different time zone than me. Okay, we'll go with a little bit bigger brush and get quite a bit of yellow in this section up here. I'm going to go even bigger. Blend that in. Okay, we'll go smaller now. Go back over to the red. I'm going to go quite a bit smaller. I'm not going to do leaf veins today. I'm going to stay pretty fluid with the colors, and with a little more planning before I did a drawing, I would definitely do the veins, but I need to do a little catch up and study the maple leaf before I include that. Now I really want more of a brown color. Now that's really starting to blend really nicely. Go around here and bleed that brown in a little bit. Let's do that up here. Let me make sure I have it. I tend to move the screen around and not realize that I've moved my screen out of view. So this is Adobe Fresco is the program. This is an iPad and this is an iPencil. Now, an iPad is probably one of the more expensive tools that I'm using, but I haven't always used an iPad. I have in the past used a Wacom tablet. It's W-A-C-O-M, and it plugs into your computer, and then you get a stylus with it. It comes with a stylus, and it's a screen very much like this, but it probably costs about 1/4 of what a iPad does. It doesn't do, it's just for drawing though. It really doesn't do a lot of other things. It can be a second screen for your computer. That was useful, but you know, when I was doing my everyday tasks. But the main reason I bought it was because it was a drawing tool that was a little less expensive than an iPad. But ultimately, I did move over to the iPad, and I love it. It's a tiny bit easier to use, but there's not really a big difference. Okay. So now I want to also show what happens if we do a mask on here. So here, make sure you can see what I'm pressing on. Bring my screen up again. So right here is a little dashed loop. Sometimes that button can look like other things here, but it happens to be on the lasso right now, which is what I want. And so I'm going to show you how the lasso works. Let me get and all I'm going to do is going to create some little spaces on the leaf that will have a different color in them, and I want them to be very contained. Excuse me. Very contained. And so I'm going to go back over here to my brush. I've got that nice brown color, and I'm going to put it inside there, and I'm just going to go really dark right there, because sometimes that's how leaves look. And then I could deselect this right now, or I could show you something else, and that is when I've got something in a lasso, I can click down here on the bottom. I have options on the bottom, and I'm going to click on the transform, and what that's going to do is allow me to move this anywhere that I want. I'm going to undo that because I don't actually want to pick it up. I just wanted to show you that tool. And then I'm going to hit done up here in the top corner. And then I'm going to go back down here. It's still lassoing it. I'm going to deselect that lasso. Now it disappears. So there I've got a nice shape that's very specific. It was just a great way to show you how to do the lasso tool. And I think I'll do another lasso. This time I'm going to make a perfect circle. Right, well, it's an ellipse, but right there. And I will do the same thing. I will paint it. And I'll deselect it. And then I'll do another one. And maybe I'll overlap all of these, and I will paint it more of a red. Let's do a red. And I will deselect that too. So now I've got some funny little marks. Maybe it's because the leaf fell on the ground and touched some stones, and they caused a different chemical reaction, and it's showing up on the leaf. So that's how I would paint a maple leaf, using wet brushes, starting with the vector and using wet brushes. And now I think I will go back to my background layer, which is right here. And I'm going to start filling in those colors. And it's on a faded, so let's start with the red. And we'll use a bucket. So these are gonna, whoa, that wasn't what I meant to do, but that looks pretty awesome. Let me go back, where was I? Here, there we go. We'll turn that off to prove that we're on the right layer. Oh yeah, it does not want me to bucket fill these because these are not vector lines. Okay, so let's create a vector line and we'll bucket fill on the outside of it. So go to vector and we're going to add another layer right here. And let's have that layer go right about here. We didn't do the symmetry. Do I want to do the symmetry? I do. Do-overs. Symmetry button on. Okay. You see I'm going right through my other lines, and that's okay because now I'm going to fill this. It's only going to fill on the outside, and I'm going to move it below my other lines, and I'm going to change the color to something much milder. We'll go to a yellow gold. There we go. And now if I want to, I can, is that solid? Let's just check. Let's check. It is full opacity, so that's good. So now I want to do a background behind everything, and I want it to be painterly. So what I'm going to do is go over here, and I'm going to go to the very bottom and add a layer that's going to be behind everything else. And the first thing that I'm going to do is it's a pixel layer, but I'm going to use a watercolor brush first, and I'll make it a medium blue to make it as big as I possibly can. I'm going to add as much water as I can. Again, let's turn off the symmetry button. All right, now I'm going to switch to an oil brush, and I'm going to use, I have to find the right oil brush. Basic outline selected. Sorry, I'm on the wrong, I want to be up here. I was on the wrong brush. I'm in watercolor now. I'm going to go back over to oil, and I'm going to do the oil paint short because it's a color blender. I'm going to make that huge. I'm going to bring my color down a little bit, and I'm just going to start streaking it across the blue that's there. Now when I pick up my brush, it adds more color. If I keep it down, it blends. Now I'm going to do something on top of this. I'm going to go up to the very top brushes here. I found this wonderful brush the other day. It was a rake. Okay, and I'm going to make a big rake. And I'm going to make it very big. I'm going to go even darker with the color and see. This could be a disaster, so I haven't tried this before. Let's go lighter with the color. Oh, there we go. That's working for me now. That was interesting. Definitely interesting. So now let's grab a blender. So you see there's a little hand. There's a little hand. I should look and see if I can see what you're seeing. Yes, there's a little hand with a finger pointed out there, as if you're going to smudge things with your finger. So let's try that and see what happens when we start smudging this. I'm also going to make it as pretty big. It just basically really, really blends it, which I think I'm okay with doing in areas, but not the whole thing. There, that works for me. I think I'll stick with that. I'm going to double check comments here. Hi there. Thank you so much. I hope that if you are enjoying watching me draw, learning anything about how to draw with digital technology, please please subscribe. I'm trying to grow my audience so that I can keep doing these for free. It's really not, YouTube doesn't pay me. I'm not one of the established influencers, so I do this totally for free. And I do it, I work as a design manager of a design build firm, but I love to create art. And so I do this in the evenings normally, but this morning I'm trying it before I go to work while I'm having my morning coffee. I hope you're enjoying your morning. And I think that 6:45, I've got about 10 more minutes to work. So maybe we'll go back and work on that border. And again, would love to have some subscribers today from all the folks that are coming by. Really appreciate the thumbs ups too, so I know if you like what I'm doing. All right, and I drew a really loose and wild border up here, I believe. And there's the border. And I made it very transparent because it was a little distracting. And so now I think I'll go ahead and start painting it. And I want to make sure my symmetry button is still on when I paint, because I want the border to be very symmetrical. And I'm just making sure you can see everything. For the most part, it looks like you can. Okay. So I think we'll go with the oil paint short. And I'm not sure I totally love everything I did on this, so I'll probably do another layer. And that way, if I decide to change it, I can just turn it off. This one that I've got in front of me right now. So let's do a new layer. And I'm going to go with a complementary color to that blue. So we'll go over here in the golds to start with and do some gold. Ha ha ha. I'm going to make this really small. And we'll start by doing some gold accents. A little bigger than that. And switch back to what I had before on the bottom. Yep, time to turn this one off. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to go back in now with I think we'll go with a green. See what happens when we start blending. Back, 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 back. Love that about digital drawing, when you don't like what you did. But if you notice, for the most part, I don't use that a whole lot. I just use it here and there because you can really get caught up on trying to make things perfect and not get anywhere on your drawing. I actually think it's better to kind of let it go and just be okay with what happens. Okay, I'm going to switch now to one of the other colors in the leaf. We'll go with more of an orange. That's not very orange, is it? Let's go back. A little more red-orange. There we go. Like I said, this is an extremely whimsical border. Not really worrying too much about reality now. And let's go to a nice strong green now. Blending a lot right there. Let's add some nice fresh green paint there. Then go back to blending. Just go ahead and join those two. We can do whatever we want. See how that's looking with the others? Pretty good. Let's go in and work on this. Oh. Somehow I turned on a layer that I didn't want to turn on. What happened? There we go. There it is again. Where is that coming from? Not there, not there. There? But that layer's off. Oh, I have a ghost. Let's turn that off. Maybe it's on that layer. Nope. How weird. Huh. Wonder where that came from. This is the line I'm puzzled by. I can't seem to get it to turn off. Let's just double check. Is it on that layer? Okay. Okay, it's not there now. See, it's gone? I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. It's back. Right there. Oh my goodness, that is so weird. You can turn it off. It's there now. I'm really puzzled. Okay, well, it goes away when I go. So there's something happening here that I don't understand with a ghost layer showing up. So when we go up close here, it might appear again. We're just going to ignore it. Thank you very much. We'll push it off to the side and go on with our coloring. So I'm going to go with a really bright, nice bright yellow up here. And we'll add that. Are we on the right layer? Nope. Let's go on this layer right here where our crazy line is. And let's start to add yellow. And blended right away. We'll add some more paint and then blend. Got a lot of yellow in there to begin with. And then blend. Okay. Let that little maple leaf line go away, hopefully. So I think we'll go down here and add a little more yellow. Interesting thing is happening. The yellow is not, it's not a strong enough color to really show up. So when this happens, what I do is I add a layer right on top of it, and then I start painting on that layer and see how much better it shows up here so you can see. I'm going to get up and check my comments in a few minutes here. I hope that I will have a few more people decide they want to connect with me on a regular basis and subscribe today. Really appreciate it when people do. Kind of surprised at how many people I saw in here earlier when I looked up there. Right on. Thanks for the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Hello, Ben. What's everybody's favorite kind of tree? Good question. So this is probably a maple tree. Yes, it is. This is a big leaf maple. Oh, Chloe, your baby just said her first word. Was it maple leaf? I bet not. Was it da? What was the word? Okay, so we've got a pretty colorful leaf going on here. And now I'm looking overall, I need some darker up where I did all that yellow. so it'll kind of match with the rest of it. So I'm going to go up there and do that. Okay, one more time. We're going to go methodically. All right, that's the layer it's on. Okay, got it. So let's take the eraser and we'll erase that. All right, great. We figured that one out. Back to our wet brush. Let's go to a nice red. And then we'll add some of that nice green in the background. Oh, it wants to bleed right into that red that I just did. There we go. Now it feels like it matches a little bit better with the rest of the drawing. I think I'm gonna have to dull down that background a little bit, and the maple leaf needs to be blended a little bit more, I think. So let's go to the maple leaf. Let's go to the background first. And I will go ahead with my same brush. I'm just going to make it really big. I'm going to go to a pretty dark blue and just do a little. It still will have kind of a slightly brushy feel. There we go. That works a little bit better for me. The background was suddenly too busy once I added all these details around the outside. And the leaf, we're going to go to the leaf now, and we're going to look at possibilities. Mixer brushes, painting, rakes. Brushy mixer, Monet mixer. Let's try it. Monet mixer. What is it doing? Not super impressed. So let's go back to a blocky mixer. Let's do that. There we go. Turn the symmetry button off. Right here. Off. It's a little bit too big though. It's going outside of my line. So let me undo that. Let's make it a little smaller so it's manageable. And we'll just do a little bit more blending on this. So I'm going to mess up what I did earlier, where I kept it all inside of particular lines, because I don't think it's that important to keep that shape. So what's going to happen is, by mixing and mixing like this, I'm going to end up with a little bit of mud, which sometimes is a bad thing. But when it comes to leaves, they actually look very brown and muddy when you start mixing when you see them in real life. And so me mixing this paint is appropriate. Bring that red over. Bring that yellow over. Mix them. It's always amazing to me when you find a bright green mixed in with all these colors just hanging on, that chlorophyll. Okay, let's shrink this brush so I can get into some of these places here. Do a little more mixing. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is that I tend to really love to do paintings that are reminiscent of illumination, you know, like old illuminated books. You can find them in Europe, like the Book of Kells, that kind of gold leaf, very ornate style of illustration. And so I think what I'm going to do is go over the top of this with that gold leaf line and see what happens. So we're going to bring this, and I'm leaving this bottom blank because I may end up putting some words down here, but I don't know what I want to do yet. So I'm going to go ahead and create another layer on top of everything, and I'm going to start going over it with a gold line. And it's going to be a very clean vector line. I don't mind that it's flat. I'm just going to go with a round line, and I'm going to make it pretty small because it tends to sometimes get fat when you put pressure on it. So let's go right about, make it a little brighter, maybe just a little more goldy right there. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. And I'm on this top layer, nothing's on it. And I think I'm gonna turn my symmetry button on because it'll make it a lot faster and it will be very symmetrical. I'd have to go back there and just, because that'll make me a little crazy. There we go. We got a little wacky there. Let's go back in. So what I do like about digital is not only the back button, but the fact that I don't have a mess to clean up. I just, there I am. Okay, I'm loving the gold leaf edge on there. So actually, I think I can finish this pretty quickly and we'll call it a day. I think I'm going to be able to do it before I go to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those gold leaves around the edges, the border. Thank you for the thumbs up. Chloe, I never heard, if you're not, maybe you're gone now, but you never typed in what your baby's first word was. All right, here we go. looking at this border color here, and I went very mild, but I might go back in there and put a brighter color that contrasts with the edges here. So that might be an interesting thing to do. I could play around with that before I quit, if I have time. When I went to art school years ago, I remember a teacher made me, not forced, but encouraged the class to draw without picking up your pencil. A lot of times you'll see people and they sketch, 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 sketch. And these teachers believed in being very committed to your line and just get it down on the paper and let the flow happen instead of doing the sketch, sketch, sketch. And I did practice it as they encouraged, and it has become part of my norm. Oh, that's interesting. We never did the outside of that or the inside of that one, but that's okay. We'll just do that instead. And this, as you remember, is I'm using the Symmetry button. So once I get all the way down this side and around the bottom, the other side's going to be all done. Only have to do one side. Whoa, can she do it without picking up her hand? It's a little wobbly there. It's okay though. Give you an idea of how it's looking. The only downside with not picking up my hand when I'm drawing is if I do make a really bad mistake that I want to hit the back button, it wipes out everything I've done because I've kept my hand down so long on one single stroke without picking it up. So picking it up here and there is not a bad thing. Interesting how much this gold blends in with these colors down here. Let's see what I'm doing down here. We're definitely going to change that background color. So look at how much nicer the gold looks when it goes against the blue. And we'll fill that little blue line in there. back. Interesting. Okay. Let's do this beauty here. I would say that drawing on an iPad is an excellent thing to do if you have any big limitations in your life for your art, and maybe it's a time crunch, maybe it's a physically not able to get out and get the paints, maybe it's, children in your life that are requiring a lot of your attention and you can only get a few minutes here and there. Having a tablet with a pencil like this, where when you get the time to work on the art, you can focus directly on the art. You don't have to worry about setup and takedown and taking up a space where it's competing with a meal or something. So I really, really love what the digital arts offer people for creativity in a very packed life. So, and like I said, you don't have to do it with just an iPad. You can also use a Wacom tablet, which is less expensive. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is find that background, and let's experiment with different colors in a bucket fill for this tan border that I did, because it's not very exciting. Let's go to a super light green. Better. Let's go to a black. No, it does, the border actually stands out really well, but it competes with the blue somehow. It doesn't work with the blue. Let's go with a bright pink. Oh, what happened? I didn't get the bright pink, I got black again. I don't think so. We could do a red. Ooh, that looks good too. Let's go back to let's do an aqua. We don't have any aqua in this. Oh, that's interesting. Not sure I love it though. I think I want to stay in the family of colors that I use. Let's go over here again. I think green is, oh, it's a little chartreusey. Dull that down a bit. I think green wins for me. All right, well, thank you so much everybody for joining. That's where I'm going to end it, because I got to go to work. And I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Oh, Russian Dogger, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here. I did not try the song yet, but it's on my list. I'm also moving. Oh, I'm so glad you joined and you were able to watch this time. I really appreciate the support. I am drawing a maple leaf, as you can see now, and I'm making it as an illuminated piece of artwork. And I'm about to end here and go to work. If anybody's on here and they enjoyed any part of this in any way, please subscribe to my channel. I always almost forget. Let me show you what happens with this program. I make videos from these drawings, and the way that I make videos is I export this as a time-lapse piece of art, and I'm going to save the video, and then I will show you. It says it's done. I will go go to my photographs, and that's my most recent video, and we will watch the time lapse. This is when I first started this morning, and there's that border I drew, the watercolor, the background I ended up not liking, a lot of border details. And then finally the finished state. Okay, so what I do with those videos, you can go over to my channel and check my shorts out, and you'll see that I take that video, I cut it, cut it up, chop it up, put it back together, do a lot of transitions, do a lot of animation moving, but then I'm also, it's got that recorded drawing happening, so things that the colors are changing and the details are changing. So it makes for a really interesting little short art video. And basically, by me doing these lives and then you looking at the shorts, the only piece if you want to do this yourself, the only piece you're missing is you need a video editing program. And I use Filmmaker Pro for that. So anyway, that's just a little look. And going over and look at those short videos, and you'll see that how different they are from this slow process of drawing, because I'll turn an hour or 3 hours or 5 hours worth of drawing into 30 seconds or a minute short. That's pretty active, and it's put to music. So thanks so much for everybody watching, and I'm going to sign off. Have a fabulous day.